There is a silence that does not mean weakness. There is a quiet that does not bow to fear. There is a stillness in the spirit of a woman that does not beg for approval, nor tremble for attention. It is the kind of silence that can shake a room without uttering a sound. It is the silence that speaks in glances in grace, in the rhythm of a heartbeat that knows its own worth. It is a silence that hums with history, the kind that carried grandmothers through storms, the kind that held mothers upright when the world tried to press them down. This silence is not empty. It is full of knowing, full of patience, full of power waiting to be released. The world will tell you to speak louder, to prove, to argue, to explain your worth until your voice grows hoarse. But there is another way. There is a way of stillness, of sacred pause, of letting your spirit whisper where others would shout. Feminine silence is not the absence of speech. It is the presence of strength. It is not retreat, it is mastery. It is not about being unseen, it is about being unshaken. When a woman learns to rest in her silence, she discovers the ancient secret of her own magnetism. The world rushes, demands, clatters with noise. Yet she stands calm, a lighthouse unmoved by the waves. The quiet within her becomes music that only those with soul can hear. In her silence, she says, I am not desperate. I am not waiting. I am not seeking permission. I am whole already. That kind of peace is irresistible. That kind of quiet is thunder wrapped in silk. There is a rhythm in feminine silence, a poetry older than time itself. It is the same rhythm that beats in the chest of the earth, when night descends and stars take their places. It is the rhythm of the moon that governs the tides, the rhythm of creation itself. When a woman aligns herself with that rhythm, she doesn't have to chase affection or grasp for understanding. She becomes the embodiment of both. She becomes the question and the answer, the desire and the fulfillment, the song and the silence between the notes. There is a temptation to fill every gap with words, to fix every misunderstanding with explanation. But power doesn't explain. Power simply is. The oak tree does not justify its roots. The ocean does not apologize for its depth. The sun does not shout about its light. And the woman who knows herself does not plead to be seen. Her silence announces her more loudly than any cry could. Silence is not passive, it is creative. It births thought, reflection, and wisdom. It is in silence that intuition rises. That ancient, feminine voice that knows before it is told. That voice that has guided women through centuries of chaos, through the fog of confusion, through the trials of love and loss. It is in the quiet that she hears the truth. She does not have to do more to be loved. She does not have to speak more to be understood. Her presence alone is language enough. In a world that profits from distraction, the woman who cultivates silence is revolutionary. She is a rare flame of focus. While others chase validation, she listens, not to the noise outside, but to the whispers within. Her calm becomes a current that draws others near without her lifting a finger. Her stillness becomes a sanctuary, a refuge from the world's chaos. That is the secret, not the silence that hides, but the silence that radiates. The silence that says, I am centered, I am grounded, I am enough. There are moments when the most powerful thing a woman can do is nothing. To pause, to breathe, to let the noise fall away until all that remains is her own heartbeat. That is where her magic lies. In the pause, in the breath, in the decision not to rush toward reaction. She knows that silence can speak volumes, when words would only cloud the message. She knows that her restraint is not weakness but art. It is the art of mystery, the art of emotional intelligence, the art of commanding presence without demanding it. Think of a river. It moves not by force but by flow. It carves mountains not with rage, but with persistence. The river teaches us the language of feminine silence. It doesn't need to shout to shape the world. It simply keeps moving in its own rhythm, sure of where it's going. A woman in her silence is that river, graceful, unstoppable, deep beyond measure. She is not still because she lacks power. She is still because she is power. In every era, women have known the sacred power of silence. When words could cost their freedom, they turned silence into strength. When voices were dismissed, they made silence their protest. When love tested them, they made silence their boundary. It is a legacy of wisdom passed from mother to daughter. Speak when words will build. Be silent when words will break. The mature woman knows when to open her mouth and when to let her eyes do the talking. Her silence becomes her signature, her serenity her crown. Silence holds space for discernment. It teaches patience. It lets others reveal themselves while she listens, unbothered and unhurried. Through silence, she learns what to engage with and what to release. She doesn't waste her breath trying to teach someone what they are not ready to learn. Her silence says, "I will not spend my spirit on what does not feed me." That silence becomes her shield and her invitation, an aura of peace that calls to those who recognize its frequency. Every great love, every deep bond, every moment of true connection has been born not in endless chatter, but in the spaces between words. Silence gives room for feeling, for reflection, for energy to move. It is where truth resides when words fall short. Feminine silence nurtures intimacy, not by explaining, but by allowing. It allows space for others to come closer, to meet her depth, to rise to her vibration. In her quiet, others feel safe, seen, soothed, because she carries the weight of calm like a blessing. There is an elegance in restraint. The woman who practices silence knows that her power is not in reaction, but in response. And often, the best response is none at all. She is not eager to fill silence with noise, because she knows silence makes others listen harder. It sharpens awareness. It deepens respect. Those who truly see her will understand what her silence means. Those who don't were never meant to. Silence is not emptiness. It is a garden. In its soil, patience blooms. In its air, wisdom breathes. In its rhythm, self-trust grows. A woman who learns to live comfortably in her silence is untouchable. She cannot be manipulated by noise or swayed by flattery. She knows that peace is more seductive than chaos, and authenticity more magnetic than performance. Her silence is not a void to be filled. It is a universe to be discovered. When she walks into a room, her quiet draws attention without effort. Her stillness speaks of depth, of mystery, of presence. People sense it. The quiet confidence, the calm assurance that she doesn't need to prove anything. Her silence is not timid, it is sovereign. It is not a wall, it is a temple, and those who enter it must do so with reverence. For within her silence lies the oldest kind of power, the power of creation itself. She listens deeply, not only to others but to life. She listens to the wind's wisdom, to the lessons hidden in delay, to the truth concealed in solitude. She learns that silence can heal what words cannot. It can soothe anger, clarify confusion, and realign the spirit. She understands that sometimes love speaks loudest through absence, that connection deepens in stillness, that peace is a melody best heard in quiet. Her silence is her sovereignty. It means she owns her emotions, her time, her energy. It means she refuses to perform for approval or beg for understanding. She knows that her value does not increase with noise. It expands with peace. Her silence becomes her standard. It filters the world, keeping chaos at bay. Through silence, she reclaims control over what enters her heart. Through silence, she builds her throne. There is music in that silence. The music of self-respect, the harmony of emotional balance, the melody of inner knowing. She dances to that music quietly, gracefully, without spectacle. Every pause is a step, every breath a note, every look a lyric. She doesn't need to declare her worth. Her energy sings it. She doesn't need to announce her beauty. Her peace radiates it. Silence becomes her love language with herself. There is a feminine mystery that lives in quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't cling. It simply is. That mystery is not manipulation, it is mastery. It is the understanding that peace attracts peace, that love without demand feels safest, that presence without pressure feels most beautiful. Her silence teaches others how to treat her, gently, respectfully, thoughtfully. And when they do not, her silence becomes her goodbye. She is not silent because she lacks words. She is silent because she has outgrown the need to waste them. She has learned that her voice is precious, not a currency to be spent recklessly. Her silence is her discernment, her inner compass. It reminds her that she does not have to participate in every noise that invites her, that she does not have to fix what others break in themselves, that she can choose peace again and again without apology. Silence can be fierce. It can be a refusal, a rebellion, a revolution. It can be the way a woman says, "I will not be moved." It can be her protest against being misunderstood, her shield against chaos, her way of saying, "My energy is too sacred for this." That kind of silence doesn't shrink her. It crowns her. It is the silence of queens, of healers, of wise women who know that every unnecessary word dilutes the power of truth. To master silence is to master self. To know when to speak is wisdom. To know when not to is divinity. The woman who practices this art walks with grace, even in storms. She knows that peace is not the absence of noise, but the presence of purpose. Her silence becomes her prayer, her boundary, her invitation to deeper things. And in that silence, she becomes unforgettable. There is a light that grows from within her. Not a spotlight demanding to be seen, but a glow that cannot be ignored. It comes from her stillness, her patience, her trust in timing. She doesn't rush outcomes. She allows them. She doesn't grasp for love, she receives it. She doesn't beg for belonging, she embodies it. Her silence creates space for miracles to find her, for life to meet her halfway, for destiny to unfold without her forcing the door open. In the hush of her being, she learns to listen to life itself, to the heartbeat of the universe that echoes in her chest, to the whisper that says you are enough. You have always been enough. Every breath, every pause, every quiet moment has brought you closer to the woman you were meant to be. One who leads with peace, loves with dignity, and stands in power without a word. And when the world grows loud again, when it tempts her to explain, to prove, to shout, she smiles. She remembers. She returns to her stillness. Because she knows the secret now. The secret that has guided generations of women through chaos into calm. The secret that turns confusion into clarity and longing into light. The secret of feminine silence. The silence that doesn't chase but attracts. That doesn't demand but commands, that doesn't beg but blesses. That silence is not emptiness. It is wholeness. It is not weakness. It is wisdom, and it is hers. Silence is the art of speaking without words. It is the eloquence that flows from the depths of the soul, when the tongue rests but the heart is wide awake. There is a kind of language that does not pass through the lips, but moves through the air, soft yet certain, commanding yet kind. It is in the way the eyes linger just long enough to be felt, in the way breath steadies in the presence of truth, in the way energy speaks before sound ever dares to rise. A woman who understands this art carries within her a quiet music that others feel before they even understand it. She does not need to shout her worth or decorate her wisdom with noise. Her silence is a conversation between her spirit and the world around her. It is the dialogue of grace and strength, of patience and purpose, of knowing and surrendering. In her silence, she becomes fluent in a universal language. The rustle of leaves, the hum of the earth, the still rhythm of her heartbeat, all become part of her speech. The pauses between her words hold more meaning than the sentences others rush to fill. Her silence listens. It observes. It absorbs. It sees what is unseen and hears what is unspoken. When she walks into a room, she doesn't announce herself. She lets her presence do the speaking. The quiet confidence that follows her is louder than any introduction. It is the subtle art of communication that does not rely on volume but on vibration. This kind of silence is not emptiness. It is intentional presence. It is the decision to speak only when words can build, to listen when words would wound, to breathe when the moment demands wisdom over reaction. It is the mark of emotional intelligence, of a spirit that has learned restraint and power at once. Silence, when practiced with grace, becomes a form of expression that transcends the limits of vocabulary. It becomes an aura, a signature, a rhythm uniquely one's own. There is artistry in the way a woman can say everything by saying nothing. The way she pauses before speaking. The way her stillness draws attention more powerfully than any sound. The way her gaze carries meaning that language could not hold. In that stillness, there is command. In that quiet, there is sovereignty. The art of silence is not learned from the world, but remembered from the soul. It is the native language of wisdom. One that has been passed through generations of women who understood that strength does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it simply breathes. To speak without words is to trust the invisible. It is to know that energy precedes expression, that truth doesn't need an echo to be real. The woman who has mastered silence has mastered herself. She has learned that every word unspoken can carry more weight than 1,000 spoken in haste. Her silence is not submission. It is orchestration. It shapes the world around her quietly, beautifully. Like wind sculpting mountains over time, a calm woman commands more than a loud one demands. There is a serenity in her that cannot be imitated, a still power that moves without noise. She does not chase attention, yet the air changes when she enters a room. Her calm is not passive. It is deliberate. It is born from knowing who she is and refusing to be disturbed by what she is not. When chaos surrounds her, she does not join its rhythm. She observes it, understands it, and then decides where her energy belongs. That choice is her control. It is not the loudness of her voice that makes others listen. It is the steadiness of her spirit that draws them closer. The calm woman does not fight for space. She creates it. Her silence is not surrender, it is strategy. She knows that shouting can make others hear her words, but stillness makes them feel her presence. She has learned that demanding respect is a lesser form of earning it. Respect given through fear fades, but respect given through awe lasts. She is not calm because life has been kind. She is calm because she has mastered her storms. She has looked chaos in the eye and chosen peace anyway. Her calm is her armor, her wisdom, her crown. There is a magnetism in her tranquility. It speaks of emotional maturity, of restraint born from understanding rather than suppression. She listens before she reacts, breathes before she speaks, pauses before she acts. That pause is her power. It allows truth to find its way through her instead of noise taking over. When others rush to prove, she simply is. Her energy teaches more than her words ever could. The calm within her becomes a mirror for those who meet her, reflecting what they lack and what they long for. She becomes a lesson without teaching, a sanctuary without promising, a presence without pretense. Her calm commands because it cannot be shaken. People feel safer around her not because she speaks softly, but because her energy holds steady when others falter. She does not let anger decide her tone or insecurity dictate her expression. Her emotions are felt deeply, but they are guided wisely. In moments of conflict, her composure unsettles those who expect chaos. In times of tension, her quiet becomes authority. The loud may demand to be heard, but the calm are remembered for being understood. Her influence comes not from force, but from the weight of her peace. Calmness is not the absence of passion. It is passion mastered. It is strength under discipline, emotion under direction. The calm woman knows that real control does not come from controlling others, but from controlling herself. Her stillness is the space where wisdom gathers, where intuition sharpens, where grace grows. She knows that storms will pass, and so she waits, patient and poised. The world rushes, but she remains anchored, breathing, watching, knowing that true power never announces itself. It simply exists. Stillness reveals the depth that noise tries to hide. In a world obsessed with motion and sound, stillness becomes a rare kind of rebellion. It is the quiet space where truth surfaces, where the noise of fear and insecurity fades into the background. When a woman learns to be still, she learns to hear herself again. Beneath the noise of doubt and desire lies her essence, patient and waiting. It is in stillness that she meets her own reflection. Not the one in the mirror, but the one that lives in her spirit. She begins to understand that what she was searching for outside has been whispering to her all along from within. The noise of the world can be seductive. It convinces the spirit that constant movement means progress, that constant speaking means power. But depth does not announce itself. It waits quietly, knowing that truth needs no validation. When she stops running, she begins to feel the weight of her own wisdom. In stillness, she no longer hides behind words or distractions. She allows herself to feel, to think, to see. And in that seeing, she rediscovers her strength. It is not loud, it is not hurried. It is calm, certain, eternal. Stillness is a teacher, and its lessons are gentle but profound. It teaches patience, the art of waiting without fear. It teaches awareness, the gift of noticing what truly matters. It teaches surrender, the courage to trust that life unfolds at the right pace. The woman who embraces stillness becomes a vessel for grace. Her presence feels grounded, timeless, steady. She no longer needs to compete with noise because she has learned to dwell beneath it. The surface of her life may ripple, but her depth remains unmoved. When she is still, she becomes intimate with her own heart. She hears the language of her intuition, that ancient compass that never lies. She begins to trust its quiet nudges more than the loud voices of the world. Her decisions become clear, her emotions balanced, her energy sacred. Stillness allows her to separate what is fleeting from what is real. It allows her to witness without reacting, to feel without drowning, to love without losing herself. In that stillness, she becomes unshakable, not because she is unfeeling, but because she is aligned. There is a mystery that lives in quiet depth. It is the mystery that draws others close, even when she says nothing. People sense it. The peace that radiates from someone who no longer seeks to prove. The confidence that comes from knowing who she is without explanation. Her stillness speaks of experience, of lessons learned, of strength that does not need display. It is a strength refined by reflection and purified by solitude. While noise may entertain, stillness transforms. It turns chaos into clarity, pain into perspective, and confusion into wisdom. It reveals the truth that has been hidden beneath the noise all along. The truth that everything she needs already lives inside her. Silence is the mirror where true power reflects. In that mirror, a woman sees not her face, but her essence. She sees the rawness of her truth, the calmness of her soul, and the strength that doesn't rely on noise or validation. Silence is not the absence of voice, it is the presence of self. It holds up a reflection so honest that only the brave can look. When she looks into that mirror, she sees the beauty of restraint, the elegance of patience, and the quiet dignity of self-control. Her silence does not mean she has nothing to say. It means she knows when words will lose their meaning. It means she understands that her energy speaks louder than speech, her peace more powerful than persuasion. In a world full of people trying to prove themselves, silence becomes a crown. It separates wisdom from impulse, depth from performance, purpose from pride. The mirror of silence shows what remains when noise is stripped away. It reveals integrity. It reveals character. It reveals the calm authority of someone who has nothing to prove. When she learns to rest in that space, she no longer chases attention, she attracts alignment. She does not argue her worth, she embodies it. Her silence becomes her reflection of power, unforced, undeniable, unshakable. In the quiet, she meets her true nature. She sees the parts of herself that were buried beneath expectation and exhaustion. She recognizes that power is not in being heard, but in being understood, and sometimes understanding comes from stillness, not speech. Silence becomes her sanctuary, a place where she can listen to her intuition without interruption. That inner voice grows clearer each time she allows quiet to wash over her. It tells her what to release, what to protect, what to nurture. Through silence, she comes home to herself. The mirror of silence does not flatter, it reveals. It shows her where she has given too much, where she has spoken out of fear, where she has forgotten her own power. It also shows her the beauty she has carried all along. The grace, the empathy, the strength. She learns that her reflection is not defined by how the world sees her, but by how she sees herself when all falls quiet. That realization becomes liberation. In that moment, silence no longer feels like emptiness, it feels like truth. It becomes a spiritual mirror, showing her the woman she was before the noise, before the world's opinions, before the need to perform. When she stands before that mirror, she understands that real power is gentle. It does not shout or compete. It simply exists, radiant and undeniable. The power reflected in silence is not the kind that dominates. It is the kind that endures. It is the strength of self-awareness, the peace of emotional control, the quiet glow of someone who knows that her value is not measured by volume. Her silence becomes her reflection of grace and sovereignty, a mirror that never lies, revealing the kind of power that words could never contain. The quiet woman writes her story in energy, not in sound. Her life is a poem composed not of words, but of presence, rhythm, and vibration. She moves through the world with a grace that cannot be spoken, yet is always felt. The way she looks, the way she breathes, the way she pauses before she reacts, all of it tells her story more powerfully than language ever could. Her energy speaks of what she has survived, what she has learned, and what she now refuses to entertain. Every gesture becomes a sentence, every silence a paragraph, every breath a declaration that she is here, whole, and in harmony with herself. She knows that true storytelling is not confined to speech. Words can be beautiful, but they can also be deceptive. Energy, however, does not lie. It reveals truth in its purest form. When she enters a space, her energy introduces her long before her voice does. People can feel her spirit, its softness, its boundaries, its calm authority. She does not try to convince anyone of her worth, because her aura does that for her. Her story is not told through arguments or explanations, but through the quiet power of alignment. She lives her truth so deeply that those around her can sense it without being told. Her silence becomes a language of frequency. It resonates with confidence, radiates peace, and hums with self-respect. She writes her story through how she treats herself, how she moves through disappointment, how she stays kind in a world that teaches bitterness. Her choices are her words, her boundaries her punctuation, her presence her message. Even when she says nothing, her energy tells the world who she is and what she stands for. It is a language that cannot be imitated because it is born from authenticity. When she walks away from what disturbs her peace, that too becomes part of her story. When she chooses patience over chaos, grace over reaction, that becomes another verse in the poem of her life. Her silence in moments of misunderstanding is not weakness. It is authorship. She refuses to let noise rewrite her narrative. She knows that power flows through direction, not volume. By staying centered, she writes from clarity instead of confusion. Her story unfolds through energy that is calm but commanding, gentle but grounded. There is an invisible ink to her existence. It glows in the unseen spaces. How she carries herself after heartbreak, how she forgives without forgetting, how she rebuilds without needing applause. Her energy records every chapter, each one shaped by resilience and revelation. Those who truly pay attention can read her story without her speaking a word. She doesn't need to perform her emotions to be understood. Her silence communicates with precision. The world listens to her energy because it is consistent, sincere, and strong. The quiet woman is not defined by what she says, but by what she emanates. She knows that her greatest story is not written in sound. It lives in the vibration of her presence. Peace is her perfume, and presence is her voice. It follows her wherever she goes, lingering softly in the air, wrapping around people like a memory they can't forget. Her peace is not something she puts on. It is something she has become. It radiates from within, the fragrance of a heart that has chosen stillness over struggle, faith over fear, surrender over control. When she enters a space, her presence announces itself without sound. It's in the way she moves, unhurried but certain, graceful without trying, confident without display. She does not need to speak loudly to be noticed. Her energy speaks in whispers that echo louder than any shout. That is her magic, the ability to fill silence with serenity, and make her calm a language of power. Peace has become her scent because she has walked through storms that taught her the value of calm. She has known chaos deeply enough to respect quiet. The woman she is now is a garden grown through ashes, a temple rebuilt from noise. Her peace was not inherited, it was earned. She learned to sit with her pain until it turned into wisdom, to breathe through anger until it softened into understanding. Each breath became a lesson, each silence a teacher, each heartbreak a sculptor shaping her into the masterpiece she stands as today. Her peace is not naive, it is aware, wise, and deliberate. She does not chase control. She cultivates trust. She understands that peace is not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of alignment. Her presence is her voice, because she has learned that the soul speaks louder than the mouth ever could. Words can be dressed in intention, but energy cannot be disguised. When she stands before others, her presence tells the truth of what she's healed, of what she's released, of what she now embodies. She has become fluent in the unspoken language of being. Her presence carries stories of resilience, dignity, and compassion. People feel it before they understand it. They find comfort in her calm, strength in her gentleness, light in her quiet gaze. She does not try to impress, she simply expresses. And that is what makes her unforgettable. She moves through the world with the ease of someone who no longer performs. She has nothing to prove, nothing to chase, nothing to hide. Her peace allows her to move slowly in a world that worships speed. She is not seduced by the noise of urgency. She knows that what is meant for her will never require her to lose herself. Her peace protects her time, her energy, her emotions. It gives her permission to rest without guilt, to love without fear, to exist without apology. Her presence teaches others what true elegance looks like. Stillness anchored in self-worth, kindness rooted in boundaries, confidence free from arrogance. There is a kind of power that lives in presence, the kind that cannot be taught or borrowed. It is cultivated through self-awareness, through solitude, through surrender. She has learned to be at home in herself, to find companionship in her own company. That comfort radiates outward, becoming an invisible field of ease. People are drawn to it without knowing why. Her presence soothes tension, invites honesty, awakens reflection. She does not have to speak for her energy to influence a room. The way she breathes, the way she listens, the way she simply is, it all creates harmony around her. She doesn't dominate spaces, she balances them. Her peace is contagious, and her presence heals what chaos once broke. Peace has also taught her discernment. It has taught her that not every battle needs to be fought. Not every misunderstanding deserves correction. Not every opinion requires a response. She has learned to let silence do the talking, to let time reveal what words could never convince. That self-control is her strength, It gives her clarity in conflict, compassion in confrontation, and composure in confusion. Her peace is her compass, guiding her toward what nourishes her and away from what drains her. When others lose themselves to reaction, she remains centered, rooted, aware. Her restraint is not suppression. It is wisdom. It is her way of saying, I know my worth, and I will not spend it recklessly. Her peace becomes her fragrance because it cannot be faked. It seeps into her gestures, her tone, her choices. It is in the way she pauses before answering, in the softness of her smile, in the patience of her gaze. Even when she says little, people feel her deeply. They feel the years of growth in her quiet, the miles of journey in her stillness, the prayers answered in her calm. She does not wear peace like a mask. She embodies it like a second skin. It protects her from chaos and aligns her with grace. She has learned that peace is not something she waits for. It is something she creates. Presence, for her, is both her message and her ministry. She does not try to change others with persuasion. She changes them with vibration. Her presence becomes a mirror, reflecting back to others the peace they have forgotten within themselves. When they leave her company, they often feel lighter, steadier, more hopeful, without knowing why. That is her quiet gift, the ability to heal through being. Her presence reminds others of the possibility of calm in a world that glorifies noise. It invites them to slow down, to breathe, to listen to their own hearts again. Her very existence becomes an act of teaching, not through direction, but through example. Her peace is power in its most refined form. It is power that does not compete, does not demand, does not destroy. It builds. It restores. It allows her to stand in rooms that once made her small and fill them with her silent authority. She has no need to assert dominance, because she has mastered balance. Her energy commands respect without effort. She does not raise her voice to be heard, because her vibration speaks for her. It tells the world that she knows who she is, that she is unbothered by noise, and that her calm is not to be mistaken for weakness. In every breath, she embodies the lesson that peace is not passive. It is active devotion to self-trust. It is choosing joy over judgment, reflection over reaction, and faith over fear. Her peace is her rebellion against the chaos that seeks to claim her spirit. It is her quiet revolution. It cannot be bought, borrowed, or broken. Her peace was carved from storms, and her presence is the evidence of her survival. When she stands in her truth, the world feels it. When she moves in silence, the air listens. When she simply exists in her fullness, everything around her aligns with her calm. Her peace is her perfume, and her presence is her voice,